back, and we begin with the unfolding intrigue, of course, between the EFCC and our former governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yaya Bello, who may have outwitted the commission and evaded arrest, but in a counter move, the anti-corruption agency has now declared the former governor of the state wanted for an alleged financial crime to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. The FCC, in a post across its social media pages, calls on those with vital information about Mr. Bello's whereabouts to reach the commission or the police. The declaration is the latest in what could now be described as a cat and mouse drama between Mr. Bello and the anti-corruption agency, which has vowed to ensure that he faces trial. And to the courts now, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja had adjourned the suit instituted by the EFCC against Mr. Bello to April the 23rd for substituted service and possible arraignment. When it turned out that Mr. Bello was not going to be present in court yesterday, the FCC promised to break all barriers to find the former governor and bring him to face his arraignment. EFCC's counsel, Kemi Pinero, stated that Mr. Bello's absence for arraignment was due to someone with immunity shielding him and removing him from his home. Mr. Pinero emphasized that immunity applies to individuals, not locations, and hinted at military assistance, if needed, to bring Bello for arraignment. In response, Yaya Bello's counsel, Abdul Wahab Mohammed, cited a court order preventing EFCC from arresting or arraigning Bello, part of a fundamental rights suit where EFCC was involved and has appealed. Mohammed argued EFCC's actions were unconstitutional and beyond the court's jurisdiction, noting Bello isn't fleeing but under court protection. In the meantime, the media office of the embattled former governor of Kogi State is accusing the EFCC of adjusting the charge against Yaya Bello to read 80 billion naira and that the money was now not stolen in February 2016. According to a statement from the media team, this is barely 3 weeks after the former governor assumed office on January the 26th, raising concerns about the allegations. The statement reads, in part, "We want to draw the attention of the president to the fact that the abuse of court processes and prosecutorial powers by the EFCC is assuming a dangerous dimension that the head of the commission might not even have paid attention to." According to the media office, the EFCC boss is being misled into political persecution rather than diligent prosecution by bad eggs within the system working with criminals masquerading as politicians. And more from the commission. In the meantime, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, has expressed concerns over the obstruction of the EFCC in its efforts to perform its statutory duty. A senior advocate of Nigeria in a statement said the EFCC has been given powers by the law to invite any person of interest to interact with them in the course of their investigation into any matter, regardless of status. Mr. Fagbemi notes that a situation where public officials who are themselves subject of protection by law enforcement agents would step up an obstruction or take flight from the law only exacerbates issues. He adds that Nigeria has a vibrant judicial system that is capable of protecting everyone who follows the rule of the law in seeking protection. Now, away from the commission and its travails and its bid to prosecuting, now to politics. The highest decision-making body of the People's Democratic Party, that's the PDP, that's the National Executive Committee, has been unable to make a decision on a substantive national chairman for the party at its 98th meeting in Abuja. Although the need to have a substantive national chairman and to settle the internal disputes regarding the office of the National Secretary are some of the issues that the PDP governors and the Board of Trustees wanted the NEC to decide upon. The NEC kept mum on those issues. It, however, directed the National Working Committee of the party to reconstitute all reconciliation committees to resolve internal wranglings. Away from politics, the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa is giving assurances of the military's preparedness to continue combating the illegal refining of petroleum products in the country. Speaking during a meeting with the Minister of Petroleum, Oil in Abuja, General Musa says the blockade of the activities of economic saboteurs will assist in reducing the security challenges bedeviling the nation.
challenges that we're facing, some of them directly, some of them indirectly. But to assure you that the armed forces of Nigeria are fully in support of you and your ministry, and will continue to provide the necessary support to ensure that the country benefits from the God-given resources that we have. I know there are a lot of challenges here and there, but together I know we'll succeed and we'll succeed. And I want to congratulate you for so far since you came in. Things are looking very, very positive. There's lots of improvements within the area. A lot of the issues we're having, challenges with the illegal refineries, the pollution of the environment, and all these things have gone drastically down, and production is going up. This is a show that you are really hitting the ground running, and that we want to appeal to all Nigerians to join hands together with you and security forces to ensure that we secure whatever it is that God has given us.
Today, oil sells for over 90.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Mr. Heineken Lupobiri, on his part, believes the quickest way to solving the nation's economic challenges is through sustained oil production.
For over $90, dollars per barrel. And if we ramp up production and we reduce the level of oil theft and pipeline vandalization, we'll be able to raise the requisite money to be able to fund not only our budget, take care of our forex problems, and then ensure that we stabilize our economy as a country. There's no country in the world that doesn't prioritize security and investment, in its oil assets.
The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has sealed 4 used supermarkets, formerly known as Amigo Supermarket, a major retail outlet in Abuja, over sharp practices by the management and staff. The store was sealed during the FCCPC's enforcement exercise in parts of the nation's capital. The leader of the enforcement team, Mr. Adamu Abdullahi, who is the acting executive vice chairman of the agency, says the commission understands the significant financial strain rising prices are placing on Nigerian households, and steps are being taken to address this issue. And to other stories now, President Bola Tinubu has given approval for an extensive census to be carried out on all schools across the country, an approach aimed at establishing a national education data system and overhauling the education system in the country. A statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngilali, says the census will, among other things, enable the government know the conditions and live-in facilities of all schools in the country, their proximity to one another, and educational infrastructure. It will also provide government the data of all teachers, their qualifications, and the training support they have received, as well as data of all students from primary to tertiary level. And now to the economy. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has projected a slight increase in Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio, which is expected to reach 46.6% in 2024 from 46.3% in 2023. The IMF, which made this known during the ongoing spring meetings in Washington, D.C., says the rise suggests increased borrowing potentially for infrastructure and social programs, or to counter economic shocks. Speaking about the global economy, the IMF said it has shown remarkable resilience and appears headed for a soft landing. According to the managing director of IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, while inflation has fallen, it remains above target in many countries, as she calls on government across the world to rebuild buffers and revive medium-term growth. And outside our shores, Kenya's military chief, General Francis Omondi Ogola, has died after a military helicopter crashed in the west of the country, as according to the president. General Ogola, Kenya's highest-ranking military officer, was in the helicopter alongside 11 other military personnel. Only 2 people survived. At a news conference, President William Ruto said it was a moment of great sadness for the country. He had earlier convened an urgent Security Council meeting. Mr. Ruto said the crash happened at 14:20 local time. The Kenyan Air Force has dispatched an air investigation team to establish the cause of the crash. Sad one there, and may his soul rest in peace, alongside that of others that departed during that crash. From the sports scene, the Minister of Sports, Senator John Eno, has assured Nigerian football fans that the senior men's national team, that's the Super Eagles, would have a new coach in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Senator Eno, in an exclusive interview on Channels Television Sports Tonight, said the first responsibility of getting a coach lies with the government, which he says is conscious and mindful that the next qualifiers come in June. The Super Eagles have been without a substantive coach following the expiration of the contract of Joseph Peseiro after the Africa Cup of Nations in February, where the team finished as runners-up.
The first responsibility, of getting the coach, lies with the NFF. And I've been in touch with the NFF because I think that it's Nigerians didn't expect that after AFCON and after, the contract, with Coach Peseiro came to an end and wasn't renewed. Nigerians expect that would stay as long and not have a coach yet. But the NFF is conscious and is mindful that our next World Cup qualifiers are coming up in June. What I can assure is that in the next 1-2 weeks at the most, that the senior national team will have a coach. My engagements and interactions with the NFF, suggest and indicate to me that the NFF is conscious of the expectations of Nigerians. The NFF is conscious that they cannot afford to lead the country, to another, non-appearance at the next World Cup. The NFF knows what Nigerian football lost not being at the last, World Cup, and they're working very hard, to make sure that it doesn't happen anymore.